Thank you all for joining us for our Community of Practice meeting, monthly meeting for AI and local news at Partnership on AI. For those who haven't met me before, my name is Dalia. I am the program lead for AI and media integrity here at Partnership on AI. I work mostly on AI, leading the work on AI and local news, as well as working with the rest of my team on other issue areas such as synthetic media, amongst many other things. So I would like to welcome you all for joining. And for those of you who are new here or first timers, I'd like to remind everyone with PAI's inclusivity and community norms, try to keep the terminology simple. We welcome productive disagreements, and any problems, please connect directly with me. And please do introduce yourselves in the chat, as some already have been doing. This is meant to be a monthly meeting for us to be able to meet each other, learn from each other. Those of us who are in the AI and local news space, or in the AI and journalism space more broadly, this is definitely a space for folks to be able to learn from each other. So for today's meeting, we have introductions to begin with, as everyone's already been doing. A quick overview of AI and local news at PAI, what we do here, and how you can kind of join our work if you're interested. And then a presentation from Stephen, who has kindly joined us, and from the American Press Institute, to present to us today about AI and AI preparedness in journalism and in newsrooms. And then we will have time at the end for Q&A, and we will wrap up with a feedback survey. As I mentioned earlier, this is a monthly meeting that we do host, so we're always welcoming folks to either share their resources, share their ongoing work, or share any presentations related to this general topic area with the rest of the group. So please do consider this space yours as much as it is ours. So I kind of went through the AI community of practice, a place to learn, share, and exchange ideas on AI and journalism. And if you are interested in presenting in the future, please do email me, just like Stephen has done for this presentation, and we're very thankful for that. So a quick overview of Partnership on AI for those of you who haven't been to any of our meetings before. This is our broad mission as an organization to bring diverse voices together across various sectors and disciplines, so that developments in AI advance positive outcomes for people and society. So AI and media integrity is just one of the verticals that we work through. We do have a bunch of different and diverse projects that we work on, and the underlying kind of theme for a lot of our work is to be able to bring folks around the table who might come from diverse backgrounds, from diverse disciplines, so we can kind of understand how responsible AI can affect this particular problem area that we're tackling, in this case, AI and media integrity. So the work that we've been doing on AI and local news for the last 2 or so years is particularly focused to encourage the use of responsible AI in local newsrooms to support their growth and their sustainability. And so part of that has been to develop a toolkit to support the responsible use of AI in local news. It has been to identify what are some of the areas in which newsrooms are particularly interested in using AI. So things like, you know, the talk of the town for the last couple of months, ChatGPT, generative AI more broadly, but things like, you know, also distribution tools, or tools that support the content creation in newsrooms. So doing that issue spotting work, as well as things like this community of practice that support community building, and that support kind of bringing folks who work in newsrooms, who work in academia, who work in civil society, who develop a lot of these tools around the table to kind of learn from each other and be able to understand the various vantage points that we approach this problem area from. So far we have developed an AI tools database that is now public, and it is available and provides insight on the various tools that are being used by newsrooms, how they're being used, a plain language description of what kind of the tool does and what level of expertise are required to use that tool. So you're more than welcome to kind of check out that database. And if you are a tool developer and your tool is not included, please feel free to email us and we're happy to add it to the database. We've also created an analysis of the broad categories of AI tools that are available and accessible to newsrooms. So that was put together into a blog post that kind of identifies the major categories of AI tools, and also some of the advantages of using these tools and some of the areas of risk that we are aware of when it comes to kind of creating mitigations for the adverse effects of using AI in those areas. And then right now, what we're working on is an AI procurement guidebook. The intention from this guidebook is to walk newsrooms through the entire process of procurement, starting with how do you identify which tool or which area could use AI support in your newsroom, and then working our way through what questions you should be asking AI tool developers. How can you interrogate that tool and make sure that it is useful for your newsroom? And then how do you incorporate it into the existing news creation cycle, all the way to what questions should you be asking if you're thinking about retiring a tool or no longer using it. And so it really does take you through the whole life cycle of an AI tool, not just kind of the procurement piece, but that's a major area of focus of this guidebook. So we're very excited to share that draft of the guidebook for your feedback and the feedback of the broader community in late June this year, and then to also share with you the final product hopefully through midsummer of this year as well. And so, yeah, just to kind of, I've walked you through the outline, but just to give you a little bit more detail, understanding why an AI tool is needed and where it fits into the news creation process, consulting the AI tools database, how to incorporate a tool, ensuring its efficacy, and then lastly, retiring an AI tool and what that looks like. So that's kind of just an overview that I've ran through both of the organization and of the work that we do here on AI and local news at PAI. I just want to take a second before I turn it over to Stephen for his presentation to see if anyone has any questions about all of the information that I've just kind of thrown at you over the last 10 or so minutes. If you have any questions about the work that we do here at PAI or the work that we do focused specifically on AI and local news, please feel free to either unmute or to ask that in the chat. Okay, seeing as there are no questions for me, which is great, I will turn it over to Stephen Jefferson, who serves as the Senior Applications Engineer on the Product Strategy team at American Press Institute, where he leads the development and technology strategy for news products that serve over 100 newsroom partners. We're very, very excited to have you present to us, Stephen. It's over to you. I will stop sharing my screen and I will give you a chance to share yours.
Yeah, thank you, Dahlia. And thank you to the whole Partnership on AI team for allowing me to share this important topic with you today. As Dahlia was saying, this community is new and is kind of collaborative, and it really just took an email and an idea for me to propose this. So I'm excited to share and discuss this topic with you today. So I'm Stephen. I'm not a dog, unfortunately, but this is my dog, Brie. I don't want to show another picture of myself, as you can see me, but I'm a senior engineer at American Press Institute. I work on the product strategy team. I deal with the technology of a few products at API. We don't necessarily build products on AI, But we do some integrations and some research and thinking and have conversations about AI at the organization. A lot of this presentation, though, was based off of my own research and my own kind of perspective of how the industries of technology and journalism is approaching AI and how we could be more prepared for this. I also want to say that I come from a background of computer science and design, graphic design. And over the past decade, I've found myself at the intersection of journalism and technology. And so I'm excited to kind of have this, meet you guys at this intersection as well, which I think is a very kind of collaborative moment for us. Some expectations for this presentation. We're going to be kind of revisiting what is preparation or preparedness, just in general, just kind of redefining it and understanding it from a few different perspectives. We're going to be looking at how newsrooms are approaching preparedness right now, and potentially some fallbacks and risks that I see personally with some of these approaches, areas that we can improve on how we're preparing for AI adoption, development, etc. We're then going to get into some guidance and understanding of the different resources that are out there already, different questions that people are asking when they're preparing for AI, and stuff that you can take back to your team and organization. I'm also hoping to have some time for discussion and Q&A. We'll have a collaborative document, which I'll share pretty shortly. Along with the outline, so the overall goal and approach of this presentation is really to not promote anything. We didn't develop an AI tool that I'm sharing or demoing or anything like that, but I'm looking to really kind of help us think differently about how we're preparing for AI. And within the AI industry, we work with models all the time. And I think this is an opportunity for us to really rethink what type of mental model we are using for AI as individuals, as groups and teams, as organizations. There's that opportunity for us to really kind of take ownership of a mental model and define that for ourselves. And I'm sure most of you have begun to think about that and kind of worked through that, but this is kind of the approach of the presentation, is to rethink how we are approaching AI. I do want to make this presentation as accessible as possible, so I've tried to, I want to make sure that no matter what role you play in the organization, that some of this information is familiar to you, and you're able to take the same, takeaways back to your organization as anyone else would. This presentation is also very resourceful. I'm pulling together a lot of links and different things and announcements from other places. So I'll be sharing that in the presentation, and I'm also hoping that you can also share resources that you've seen that are not mentioned. And I'm hoping to have some takeaways. There are a few things that you can, at the end of the presentation, that you can take back to your team and organization to hopefully, begin all thinking about preparedness and preparation differently. So the reason why I proposed this idea of AI readiness and preparation to Dahlia and the partnership on AI team is, I think it's a very timely topic. Over the past few months, we've seen a lot of different experiments and developments on as far as AI being adopted within newsrooms, and I've grown a little skeptical about some of these approaches. They're all fantastic, and I love experimentation, but it makes me think whether the efforts and resources that we're putting into AI right now, whether they're absolutely necessary, and if we're perhaps jumping too far ahead and skipping some steps that might be essential. I'm also interested in seeing, overall, how we can better align the technology communities and journalism communities. I think about this a lot at American Press Institute with our products. And there are still gaps between these two communities. And I think this is an opportunity with AI developments for us to take a more collaborative approach. And our preparation for this technology has a lot to kind of do with aligning ourselves. The other thought that makes this topic timely is that there's a lot of new developments as far as guidelines and policies being talked about or drafted or published in newsrooms. And there's a lot, but there's a lot more to come as well. And I think there's an opportunity for us to potentially see a common ground or some common components that may be overlapping between organizations, and a way for us to learn what other organizations are doing and use that as resources for as influential resources. On the topic of skepticism that I've been feeling, I know that other organizations are also kind of taking a pause before really jumping into AI and thinking what may be, actually most effective as far as approaching a new technology adoption or development. This quote is from an article about Wired, where they have implemented guidelines recently that pretty much defines their boundaries as an organization as far as what they would adopt, what AI technologies they would adopt and what they won't be adopting. And they also explained why they made these decisions and how this was a collaborative decision. And I think this is a really unique approach that I just wanted to kind of start off with. Not all organizations will be preparing to use AI in this way, but this is just one example that I'd like to share right now. So throughout this presentation, I would like you to begin thinking about how perhaps a AI preparation kit, what that looks like for your organization, or what types of components have you begun to integrate in your organization to help prepare for AI adoption or development. This isn't necessarily like a go bag where, you pack Band-Aids and stuff that's shown here. Like, I'm not looking for you to write a knife or anything like that. This is more about, a package of components that will help you make decisions as you approach certain, I guess as new AI developments come out, or as you begin to think of different innovations for your organization. I'm interested in understanding those components that are important to your organization. So here's a link that goes to a collaborative Google Doc that all of you should have kind of editing access to. And this is meant for you to kind of add notes as I go through the presentation. Anything that comes to mind that seems that you would like to highlight, or new ideas that you would just like to jot down. I'm curious what goes through your head as far as an AI preparation kit. So I'd like to start off with a personal story. So in our household here in Virginia, we have a lot of conversations about preparedness. My partner works in the field of emergency management. So lucky me, naturally our dinner table conversations are all about really interesting stories of environmental disasters, mitigation planning, capacity building, all this stuff here that you see. It's really like they're fun conversations really, but this allows me to really think about preparedness from a different perspective than I'm used to in my workplace and in journalism. And this allows me to see kind of also what is similar to how I'm preparing for different journalism and AI developments. Preparedness in the real world is something that everyone goes through at some point. Every once in a while, there's these kind of seismic shifts that throw us off balance, and this could be hurricanes and tropical storms. Most times we are surprised when, let's say, the wind blows through our community faster than we expected, or the things that we thought were safe and secure are now underwater, that our neighbors may be displaced. A lot of these impacts in the real world that I'm used to hearing, and that I think some people experience, are very similar to the impacts that we are experiencing in the digital world today, because in the digital world with AI, there's also this seismic shift where it is transforming a lot of the parts of our work in our industries, every industry. And so, yeah, I just wanted to point that out. And then some unofficial lessons that I normally think about and talk about, and I think are relevant to what we do in journalism. And this is, again, just to kind of, what I'm doing here, sharing these examples, is just sharing a new perspective of what preparedness, how we could think about preparedness. And we'll get more into some definitions and examples later, but I just wanted to kind of start off with a fresh example that we may not think about all the time. Some lessons, though, for this preparation that I'm used to hearing is, it's impossible to really prepare for every kind of scenario. We're not sure what AI developments will come out tomorrow or next week. There's not one kit or package or checklist for everyone. It's going to be unique to the work environment that you work in and the audience that you serve. Understanding the capacities and goals and stakeholders that you work with within your organization and your partners is really important to have that understanding accessible and within reach. Preparation itself, the process of preparation, has its own mission and goals. And to focus and define those mission and goals for the preparedness process is really important. And when going through the preparation process, we'll get to some examples later, but it is important to encourage collaboration and kind of not necessarily put up barriers to that thing that you see as risky, that scenario that may be little, cause some unpredictability or uncertainty, but to, instead of putting barriers up, to learn how we might be able to work with that inevitable event or situation that may happen. Different policies and guidelines in place should be flexible. It's very easy for something to become irrelevant these days because AI and technology is changing so much. The last one, preparation influences the resources for response. What I mean by this is that if you see it in, let's say, two steps where you have preparation for something and a response to something, the more preparation that takes place, the more understanding you have of your resources and different kind of information that you have within reach, so that when something does happen, or when you do need to launch a project or begin planning for an innovation or experiment, that you have these resources within reach, and it makes it easier for you to act and make decisions. So in regards to, well, I guess, going back here really quick, these examples, they, kind of a summary of them, they are really a balance of both being structured, having a structured approach to preparation, and also being flexible and learning and adapting and being okay with change that might happen. Now, as we go to here, there's two different types of ways that we can see or define preparation. It's preparation or preparedness. The process of preparing for something is one thing. This is an ongoing process, flexible, it's adaptable. You're kind of continually acting to kind of just plan for a scenario. Preparedness is a more structured approach where you have defined a checklist, perhaps, or a mission and goals for what you're preparing for. So if it's a new AI development that, or innovation or experiment that you're looking forward to, and you want to plan for that, is to have that defined list of, okay, what do we need to have in place to feel confident that we can kind of move forward with this development. But there's these two processes of having this balance between a structured organization of stuff and being flexible and adaptable to continually build on that. How is journalism preparing for AI right now? As I've seen, I've kind of grouped it into 6 different categories. Professional development. AP has launched a course over the years to help with education and training. Recently, earlier this year, Journalism AI, I think supported by the Google News Initiative, launched another course for training. Working groups and I guess you could say task forces within newsrooms are spinning up. The Washington Post announced one yesterday, the AI Hub. Assessment guides and policies are also spinning up, and these ones are happening more recently. I think the examples that I've listed here in number 3 are many of them are new as of the past 3 months, and it's interesting to see this. Some of these announcements and press releases have the word first in them, a first of a kind guide, first of a kind policy, and for ethics or for the usage of AI. And I think this is a really interesting time when we're starting to define the way that we work with technology differently. Regulations and governance. I don't think this is, I think everyone is familiar with this. Conversations happening in the courts right now, and trying to understand how we can kind of take a bigger picture approach to regulating the technology. And then experimenting and researching, obviously, are everywhere. We are really excited to learn and try new things with ChatGPT or our own in-house developments, which is also really exciting. So with these 6 approaches, I personally have kind of, been looking at these announcements coming out, and again, been kind of skeptical on how the preparation process has been taken to launch and write a policy or to do experiments. These 2 examples I see are maybe some fallbacks or risks that I'd like to point out. They're very much similar as well, but the first one is the reactive approach is kind of taking the lead versus more proactive approaches, which, for example, we have these new policy and guidelines coming out that very much explain a very specific situation that's happening. And I think, it's okay to have this reactive approach. It's very smart to, put out a response. But there's a way to also incorporate a proactive approach to that. And for example, not only writing about a specific situation, but also describing why you are publishing those guidelines and policies, and what standards or values do you have as an organization that is making you take that step. And I think it's important to leverage both of these reactive and proactive approaches. The second one is kind of a lack of collaborative or inclusive intent. So what I mean by this is that I've seen, this isn't everywhere, but I've seen that, there are developers and technology companies that are willing to be collaborative and want to learn more how to work with newsroom organizations. And I do see that there's an opportunity for newsrooms to kind of make the way that they can, I guess, make it more understood how they would like to work with technology. So not just defining some barriers for how they are going to be adopting AI in their organization, but also intentionally being inclusive and encouraging to help educate these developers how they could work with the organization. It's a bit difficult to explain. I'm happy to answer questions later, but it's kind of these things that I see, an opportunity to be more collaborative and encouraging, and then an opportunity to be more proactive with our approaches. This is also kind of something I touched on just a few seconds ago, a few examples that I've seen, and these seem to pop up all the time. Again, this way to approach a technology development or to talk about AI in a way that kind of intentionally encourages collaboration or encourages a way to work together. I see a lot of people talking about it, from news organizations to different federal agencies and technologists. It seems like there's a big opportunity there to pay attention to how we are going through the preparation process and just putting ourselves out there as news organizations in a more inviting and inclusive way. And so I hope this presentation so far has allowed you to kind of rethink, and maybe even focus harder on the preparation step for, before development, before defining a work scope of adopting AI or partnering, to understand what does it take to actually perhaps understand your organization's capabilities better and the values and other standards that you really stand up for, and also understand kind of how different impacts outside of your organization or different events outside of your organization may impact your audience and your work. These are 5 questions that have stood out to me as far as kind of thinking about just questioning how I'm approaching AI development, specifically as a developer, but also as I do consulting for news organizations, and we at API we have news organization partners. So I'm also thinking about these questions for their preparation as well. And so I'll just go through these. What is the structure and goals of the organization's preparation? What is the flexibility of those structure and goals? How are the organization's values within reach just during decision making? How are our preparation steps transparent and accessible to the staff or public? And how are we incorporating reflection and learning along the way? I really love that last one. And especially at API, I really encourage us to, as we experiment and try new things with our products, I really encourage this moment of pausing and intentionally reflecting on what we just did, what experiment we just did, or what research we just did, and understanding what did we learn from that, and how can that be kind of integrated within our values and help influence the decision that is coming up next. These 5 questions are very much about an existing environment or organization. These questions can also be reworded in a way that can help you learn how to expand these things, and how to grow. For example, as I mentioned, a simple switch of changing how are to how can. So for example, How can your organization's values be more within reach during decision making? How can our preparation steps be more transparent and accessible to staff or the public? How can we incorporate more reflection and learning along the way as we're experimenting and doing things? And so to close, I hope that you've added any notes that have come to mind as we've gone through this presentation, anything that you think fits into perhaps a kit for AI preparation. We can also spend some time to jot down notes as well. I also have a link here that includes different resources that have helped me think about my personal mental model for approaching AI and also preparing this presentation. That resource link includes a few things. It includes the list of examples that newsrooms are using for preparing. So those policies and the regulations, there's a lot of links in there to just kind of reference that work. There's also a section in this document that has a bunch of questions that I've seen where these are questions that newsrooms are asking themselves as they are kind of deciding whether to adopt a new AI technology or whether to invest in a new development. I think there's a lot of great questions out there that could be useful to your organization. And thirdly, there are a few resources in this second link where it talks about just in general how to kind of organize a load of information. There's a fascinating field that I love called information architecture, and it's just the practice of organizing information effectively. And so I've put some links in there in case if you're interested in that, because as AI developments come out, it's a lot of information, and I don't think any of us expect to keep up with it. So I think we should all kind of be more intentional about our mental model and how we're ingesting new information, and also how we're sharing that information with our teams and people that we work with. And that's it. Thank you again for joining, and I hope it was useful. Happy to stay in touch, and you're welcome to also contact me if you have any questions or would like a follow-up. Thank you.
Thanks, Stephen. We really appreciate the presentation and the resources that you've shared with us throughout. I think just looking at the document that you shared, there is a bit of like a couple of questions that folks are interested in, starting with like defining AI, and then curiosity around how news organizations are using privacy or are approaching privacy when it comes to user data that is being used to train AI models, and what transparency looks like for newsroom, as well as an interest in a resource that can kind of lay out the various approaches that newsrooms have made public to their use of AI. So I think there's definitely like a whole host of resources that folks are looking for, but I also just wanted to create space if anyone who's either commented in the document or in general, like had any questions or things that they wanted to voice over from the document itself, or things that they're thinking through as they think about using AI in their newsroom. Okay, seeing as there aren't any, let me double check the chat. Oh, okay. Stephen, can I just ask you to stop sharing your screen so I can just share mine? Thank you. Okay, so just to quickly wrap up, any questions that you folks might have, please feel free to reach out to Stephen directly or to myself. We also just wanted to wrap up with a feedback survey from our end. As I mentioned, we are very interested in continuing to host these community of practice meetings on a monthly basis. And so if you're interested in joining our listserv to hear about the future meetings, I'll drop a link in the chat. And then we'll just ask everyone if they could please fill out our feedback surveys to help improve our future meetings. And as I mentioned earlier, this is meant to be a collaborative space. So if you are interested in presenting to the group or sharing ongoing work for feedback, please do reach out to me directly, and I'd be happy to kind of create space for you at future community of practice meetings. That is all from me. Thank you all so much for joining today, and please do reach out to us if you'd like to chat more. Thank you.